Let us welcome our first guest. You have known him as the featured star, according to some, of Nerd versus Noob. You also know him as the man with the largest headphones this side of the plateau. Let us welcome the one and the only Marc Rowland to At Home with James. Hi, Marc. How are you?
I'm doing okay. My screen looks a bit funky. Am I looking fine on your screen?
Yeah, you look great. Are you wearing a turtleneck right now?
No, I just did my buttons up all the way.
Oh, I thought you were going full Steve Jobs, another classic nerd.
I'm doing mini Steve Jobs.
Yeah. So you've combined Steve Jobs and Vern Troyer of Austin Powers 2, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Oh man, I saw a great sort of Austin Powers poster. But it was a competition, and they used Austin Powers as the image, but it wasn't him. So it was just like, anyway, I want to take a photo of it, and I'm going to show it to you.
That'd be great. Marc, you're in pretty good spirits for a person who has been on what I would like to call the greatest losing streak in at-home history.
Well, here's the thing, James, is I said I wouldn't be back.
Yep.
But you told me that you had something in mind.
Yeah, well, generally speaking, for people who don't know, once a week, Marc, you show up, you compete against someone in a role-playing game called Nerd versus Noob, where you're given 3 different scenarios with 3 different genres, and it is your job and your duty, not to speak of it as such a small feat, to complete the mission in this scenario. And I've always looked at you as the nerdiest person I know. The geekiest person I know, the biggest dork that I know in terms of nerd culture. Otherwise, you're a fairly grounded person, and I use the term fairly strongly. But you have yet to win, and I have been disappointed by that, and I think you've been disappointed in the losses.
I have been very disappointed. I mean, I have to say, I'm kind of suspicious of this game master. Like, I kind of feel like maybe he has it out for me.
Yeah.
Something like
well, it could be that. I have some information. Now, people think that I curate these scenarios. I don't. I'm not familiar with the lingo or the ways in which that these scenarios are built.
You don't know anything about nerd stuff.
This is true. I have gone to someone who is only known as the Game Master. But the weird thing is that his email address is overlord616sith@gmail.com, but he signs his emails as Game Master. Now, I let him know that you refused to come back. I convinced you to come back, and then the Game Master got back to me, and he said, I'm not convinced this Marc Rowland character is as nerdy as he claims to be, or as you claim for him to be. Therefore, he is not allowed to compete in Nerd versus Noob any longer. That's why you're here alone tonight. But as I have the ability to do, Marc, I have greased the proverbial wheel. I have talked the Game Master, Overlord616sith@gmail.com, to allow you to take a test, a nerd test, in order to determine whether or not you are worthy to continue being this show's resident nerd in Nerd versus Noob.
James, you read my bio. Okay. You've seen all my books, quantum physics, all right, Heath biology. I am a nerd. Like, I'm a nerd.
You don't have to sell me on this. You do not have to sell me. You have on multiple occasions attempted to get me to go into the Warhammer store. I have yet to go in, nor will I ever.
I really want you to come in with me. I think you'd appreciate some of the models.
Yeah.
I think you'd like some of the painting that's been done.
Yeah, this is like similar to a conversation I was having last night with one of our guests, Taylor McMillan. We spoke about how when you're with a significant other, they often try, well, at times, to get you to go to things you don't want to go to. That's what this feels like, is that you and I are in some type of romantic partnership, and it would just really mean a lot to you if I entered the Eaton Center's Warhammer shop.
Well, you do come in with me to the board game store.
Yeah, that one's fun. There's a lot more to make fun of there.
Well, no, you should come into the war. There's way more to make fun of.
Yeah, I just think I'd feel a little bit depressed making fun of the people in the Warhammer.
Talk to one of the guys and see what he says.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that someone named Gabriel is going to make fun of me.
I don't know. Or
in any
data
event,
or something. Yeah.
with all this being said, I know that you're a nerd. I believe in your nerd abilities, but the Game Master
I
doesn't.
definitely am.
The Game Master has put together a series of questions called the Nerd Quiz to determine whether or not you have what it takes to continue being a part of this segment.
Okay. I just want to know who this Game Master is.
I don't know either. I found him on Reddit.
Okay.
Which is what I call like the underbelly of the internet. But let's just be happy I didn't find him on 4chan.
Well, if you found him on 1D4chan, then I'd be impressed.
Well, I know that you're a frequenter of 4chan, so
no, not 4chan, 1D4chan.
I'm not familiar, nor do I want to be. Mark, I guess the question now is, do you want to take this quiz?
Well, do I have a choice?
Of course you do.
Well, what is it? It's like either leave the show or what?
Well,
or
yeah, that's correct. I'll just check in right now. Smooth Carla, who's working the board tonight. So if I understand correctly, if Mark declines taking the quiz, you're going to kick him out right away on the orders of the Game Master?
Yeah, we're going to kick him right out of that Zoom chat. Bye-bye, Mark. Well, you're safe for now.
Great. So
smooth.
Yeah, well, easy, Mark. Easy. Do you want to take the quiz?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to prove myself.
All right. So
James,
let us begin. Okay. Look, I believe you. You have 8 questions with 8 separate categories. Mark, are you ready for your first category?
I'm ready.
Your first category, this is lucky for you, is Star Trek. Each question of each category comes with a multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Your first question, and if you're in the chat right now on twitch.tv/@homewithjames, feel free to give your own answers, but let's hope Mark isn't watching. Mark, your first question. Where on the Enterprise is Picard when he first utters the phrase, "Make it so"? Your options are the engine room, cargo bay 1, the battle bridge, in bed getting off.
So, battle bridge, and what were the other ones? Engineering?
Engine room, cargo bay 1, the battle bridge, or in bed getting off.
So make it so. It's probably the first episode, the pilot, which is Farpoint. You know, when they go to Farpoint Station. I don't.
Now keep in mind we're not looking for a pilot episode breakdown.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember whether or not they did a saucer separation.
Well, as you think about this, I want to provide a fun fact. The famous line, "Make it so," was actually an ad-lib line. Actor Patrick Stewart famously hated the writers and would actively change the lines, hoping to anger them. To the writers' chagrin, the line made it into the show and became one of the most famous lines from the series. Mark, we're going to need an answer. Once again, the engine room, cargo bay 1, the battle bridge, or in bed getting off.
I'm gonna say battle bridge.
Mark, is that your ultimate response?
That's my ultimate response.
You are correct. The battle bridge
is
the correct answer. So you now have 1 nerd point.
Fantastic. James, I have to say, what I thought of is there's no way, like Picard is rarely in cargo bay 1. It's not often that he's in engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Battle bridge was the most likely. And getting on, he doesn't need to say make it so. It just happens.
Keeping in mind the answer is getting off in bed.
Oh, sorry, getting off.
Which I'm surprised you didn't take because we know you have a history of bringing eroticism into your responses. Let's move on to the next category, which is Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
One of, if not the most classic ways to make fun of nerds in history.
Let us begin. Say Dungeons and Dragons?
This is correct. Your question is,
okay.
What year was the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons published?
Okay.
1974, 1983, 1970, or 2020?
74, I'll say.
Is that your ultimate answer?
Yeah.
Mark, you are now 2 for 2 in the nerd quiz. And once again, we have another fun fact. Gary Gygax is an ex-race car driver who, after suffering a devastating head injury, began seeing creatures, monsters, and wizards. He drew everything down and began working on the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. This horrific head injury might have ended his racing career, but in 1974, he gave birth to a fantasy genre. Mark, you're doing splendid right now.
I'm nervous, I have to say. I mean, I'm glad I'm 2 for 2, but I'm expecting the worst.
Well, of course, the questions are going to get more difficult. Your next genre is video games.
Oh, God. Okay.
The question is as follows. Mark, what is the name of the first ever video game? Your possible answers are Ass Punisher, Tennis for Two.
Wait, what was the second one?
Your answers or potential answers are Ass Punisher, Tennis for Two, Space Lasers, or Dream Fight.
Tennis for Two.
Is that your ultimate answer?
Yes.
Mark, you have now acquired 3 nerd points. Another fun fact, Tennis for Two was created by physicist William Higginbotham and displayed at the Brookhaven National Laboratory in New York in 1958. His colleagues laughed him out of the room, which sent William into a spiral. He went on to create many more video games that became progressively more R-rated. Even though they were not commercially successful, William is still considered the grandfather of modern video games and also was the creator of Ass Punisher.
That's not true.
Let us move on to our next question. Mark, are you ready for your follow-up genre?
Who wrote these questions? This is damn Game Master.
It's from
the perverted one.
This is from the Encyclopedia of Nerds.
Okay.
Your next category, one of, if not the greatest ways to make fun of nerds ever, math.
Okay.
Mark, Abigail is 6 years older than Jonathan. 6 years ago, she was twice as old as he. How old is each now? So I'm going to ask you that one more time. Abigail.
I only get one? Okay.
Abigail is 6 years older than Jonathan. 6 years ago, she was twice as old. How old is each now? Your possible answers are Jonathan 4, Abigail 22. Jonathan 12, Abigail 18. Jonathan 14, Abigail 34, or who cares?
Okay, very difficult because you read that so quickly. You said Abigail's 6 years older, and 6 years ago she was twice as old. You said Abigail 18 and the other person 12?
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, so that so that's it. That's the one. 18 and 12.
Okay, is that your ultimate response?
Yes.
Mark, I want to acknowledge that I think you're getting more nervous because I looked away from the screen, and when I came back, you were incredibly close to your camera.
I moved the camera to a different position, so I didn't have to hold it anymore.
Mark, you have acquired another nerd point. You are now up to 4 possible nerd points out of 4 possible nerd points.
Yeah. Okay.
Fun fact, 18 is the only number that is twice the sum of its digits. 18 is also the age most people drop out of school, try drugs, and do alcohol for the first time, according to the Encyclopedia of Nerds. Mark, you have reached the halfway point of the nerd quiz. Are you ready for your next category?
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm ready.
One of the most popular nerd categories, while at the same time, one of the most reviled nerd things. Mark, your next category, My Little Pony.
Not my thing.
which
Okay.
you and your buddies on 4chan love. Your question.
4chan. Okay, yeah, 4chan.
Your question is, this pony will always be truthful with her friends, even if it gets her in trouble. The possible answers are Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Diane, or Fluttershy.
Oh, God. Oh.
And I'm gonna repeat this question just so you really understand it, and just so it's in the tone of your enjoyment from My Little Pony. I'm gonna read it like it's from My Little Pony.
Oh yeah, give me a yeah.
This pony will always be truthful with her friends, even if it gets her in trouble.
Okay, the first and the last sound the most realistic.
Oh, you're saying Diane isn't realistic?
No. And what was B?
Your possible answers are Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Diane, or Fluttershy.
Okay, Pinkie Pie, no. Fluttershy doesn't sound like a pony that's going to be like forthcoming in truths. So therefore, Applejack is the answer.
Mark, is that your ultimate answer?
This is the ultimate answer from me.
Mark, you have now acquired 5 nerd points. Fun fact, Party Pony, aka Cheese Sandwich, who only appeared once in the show, was an instant flop with teens, children, and men over the age of 40. It is the only time a pony was taken out of the show and escorted to a greener pasture. To this day, a gravestone with Cheese Sandwich's name can be seen in the far distant behind Pinkie Pie's house. Mark, are you ready for your next question?
Yeah, cheese. What does cheese sandwich look like?
I'm not familiar. You might know as a fan of the show. Now, this next category, I feel uncomfortable even reading it because it's not only nerdy, but incredibly boring.
Okay. Yeah. Is
Mark,
it space?
Your next category is geology.
Oh, okay.
Mark, what type of rock is formed by extreme pressure and heat over a long time? Your possible answers are igneous, metamorphic, Dwayne Johnson, or anthropomorphic.
It's going to be metamorphic.
Is that your ultimate response?
Yeah.
Mark, you are once again correct, and you now have 6 nerd points.
Yeah.
Well, fun fact, Dwayne Johnson was 6'4" and 225 pounds when in high school. Students apparently thought he was actually an undercover police officer, but is now suffering from the COVID-19 virus. Mark, are you ready for your next response? Or rather, your next question in which a response will be rendered?
I shall render it.
Let's begin. Your next category is Doctor Who.
Okay. Damn.
Mark, what is the name of the song the 10th Doctor plays in the TARDIS in Tooth and Claw? The possible answers are Taste It, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, Freaking in the Bushes, Hold On, I'm Coming.
What?
Once again, what is the name of the song the 10th Doctor plays in the TARDIS in the Tooth and Claw? Now, I've never seen Doctor Who. I know nothing about it. Perhaps this is pronounced tardy in the Tooth and Claw?
No, it's the TARDIS.
Great. So your answers are...
It's larger inside than it is outside. It travels through time.
Taste It, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, Freaking in the Bushes, or Hold On, I'm Coming.
None of these sound real, James.
One of them is correct.
Look. Are you lying to me? Is the Game Master lying to me? This is Game Master.
To my knowledge,
this is Game Master written all over it.
I have every question and answer with correct responses. One of these is the correct response. Taste It, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, Freaking in the Bushes.
Okay, 2B.
Is that your ultimate answer?
Oh, yes, it is.
Mark, you are correct. The answer is Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick. Fun fact, in episode 46, Frozen in Time, When the Doctor and Lucy are running through the Gamma-Rax chambers, you can see a room filled with cryopods. If you look closely, one pod is occupied by a scruffy fellow. This was a homeless man who wandered on set and was looking for a place to rest. The director loved it and decided to give the man a job for the remainder of the season. He went on to pick Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick to play in this episode. Mark, you have 7 nerd points out of 8 nerd points.
Okay. How many do I need?
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
But first, the final question.
Hold on, James, because I was doing a little bit of research. You told me that the email address of the Game Master was like Game Master 616.
No, it was Overlord 616 Sith at gmail.com.
Okay, 616 area code is West Michigan.
Okay.
I think that gives us a bit of a lead as to who and where that Game Lord might be.
Okay, so he might be based out of Michigan.
Yeah, largest city, Grand Rapids, West in Michigan.
So he might be in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That's my guess. Okay.
Mark, you can't stall any longer. Are you ready for your final question?
I'm prepared.
One of the more underrated nerd things is the category that you are about to encounter. Your final category is magic tricks.
Interesting. Okay. I've been watching a lot of Fool Us by Penn and Teller, so maybe that'll help me.
I'm not familiar, but let us begin. P.T. Selbit was an English magician who cut through conventions of time and invented one of the first jaw-dropping illusions. Which of these tricks was that illusion? Your possible answers include escaping from a tank of water, sword swallowing, getting a woman to speak to him, or sawing a woman in half. Once again,
I'm going to go with sawing a woman in half.
Is that your ultimate response?
Yes, it is.
Mark, you have answered every single question correctly.
All right.
8 out of 8 possible nerd points.
Nice.
Fun fact, somewhere in between 50 AD and 300 AD, a group called Acel Tabulary used stones in small vinegar cups to perform the well-known ball and cups routine. The trick was so popular for a few weeks, but then people began to see the tricksters for what they really were, creeps. They were shunned and not allowed to attend parties or social gatherings. Mark, I can confirm that the Game Master is not watching this. He has never watched an episode of this show because he is part of a D&D group every night of the week. But he does watch every episode right here because they are banked on twitch.tv/@homewithjames. He will be checking in with this. And of course, I let you know that I think you're the largest nerd that I know. I will be singing your praises to the Game Master when I send him an email to overlord616sith@gmail.com.
Now, James, we got to look into this West Michigan Grand Rapids connection.
Nerd. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I want you to look into it and perhaps you can give me an update.
All right.
All right. Well, Mark, how do you feel?
Man, I feel good. I feel vindicated. I feel like I finally got to prove myself. I've had a really rough time.
Yes. Well, yeah, you were very upset last week, and I understand, but you've really done a fantastic job tonight. Out of curiosity, how many of the questions did you anticipate that you would get right and wrong?
I mean, for the most part, a lot of them were due to deduction, but that's one of the abilities of a nerd.
Great.
To be able to take all available information. Yeah. It's a lot like Sherlock Holmes.
Great. So, well, maybe Sherlock Holmes will be a category next week. Mark, thank you so much for being here and congratulations. I feel like you're on the road to nerdy recovery.
Thanks very much, James. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. That is Marc Rowland, folks.